Hey everyone, Scott here, and today in this video I'm going to be going over the 20 cards that are being reprinted in the upcoming anniversary box. I'm just going to go over my thoughts on whether these are good reprints or not, also maybe point out a few notable bits of info about the cards here and there. So let's just jump straight in and start talking about the first set of 5 cards I'm going to kind of group together, because they're all from the same set and they're all super combos. Which are these super combos from Vermilion Bloodline. It's interesting to point out that Vermilion Bloodline is one of these sets that Bandai announced is getting a second printing. The actual whole booster box set is going to be printed again and made available. That's going to be, I believe, either later this year or early next year. I'm not 100% because since announcing it, Bandai haven't really released any more details on it. And especially like Bandai in the past have announced sets for certain dates and then they get pushed back, so don't actually have 100% confirmed date of when the second printing of the set's going to be out. But we're getting all the super combos from the set here in the anniversary box, and I think this is actually a pretty good decision because these are the best super combos in monocolor decks at the moment, except with the exception of this Great Saiyaman here. I believe Defending Father Paragus is still a better green super combo when compared to this, just because with Paragus you draw the 2 cards first, whereas with these ones you have to put a card on the bottom of your deck first and then draw 2. It's always going to be better to get the 2 cards before you have to get rid of one of them, rather than the other way around, getting rid of a card then drawing 2. That's always going to be slightly weaker. In most cases it's not actually going to matter, but with the exception of this Great Saiyaman here, I think these are the best super combos for monocolor deck, and you have to have... potentially you could get away with using them in dual color decks. So like you could do a blue-yellow deck as long as you only charge blue or blue-yellow, because all your energy has to be a certain color. Vegeta here is also notable because I think it's really good with the new Bardock leader that's going to be part of the anniversary box. I think it's a lot better than the new super combo that's in the set. I will be doing a video, it'll probably be the next video after this, where I look at the new archetype that's coming out with some of the new cards in the anniversary box and the new Bardock Super Saiyan 4 leader. I'm going to do a video talking all about that deck and the cards you may want to run within it. Yeah, I think this Vegeta is definitely one of them. Like I say, I think it's a lot better than the new super combo for that deck. And overall, with these super combos being reprinted, I think it was a pretty good decision on Bandai's part. Like I say, there is that reprint coming, but that could be quite a few months away at this point. So to be able to get our hands on these cards now, for those of us who don't have complete playsets of them, I know I've got, I believe it's a full set of the black, blue and yellow, and I have 1 or 2 of the green and red ones, so hopefully I'll, with my 2 boxes of the anniversary box, I'll pull the green and red ones up to a full playset for me, or at least that's the hope anyway. So the next card is another card that is, I guess, something you combo with, which is Further in Destruction Champa. So interestingly enough, last year's anniversary box, they announced this card was going to be reprinted, and I believe because of a lot of complaints from people about how bad the anniversary box reprints were last year, they actually ended up taking this Champa out and put in Broly Crown of Retribution in instead. Well, I guess Bandai now has said we're getting this Champa whether we like it or not. It's going to be in this year's anniversary box instead. So they, I guess, held on to this reprint for a whole year, and they're finally giving it to us now. This is fine. At the end of the day, this card that still sees play. This, I guess, kind of goes along with the East Supreme Kai reprint in the Evolution Booster. They're very similar cards, and like I say, the East Kai just got a reprint a few months back, so now it's the Champa's turn. And again, it's a card that still sees play. I'm gonna run probably the anniversary box version if I pull any of it over the original or even the Magnificent Collection, because there was like 1 or 2 copies in there. So I like the new artwork on it, and that probably will be my preferred version of the card going forward. And I think it's a similar case with this next card here, Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan. This is another one that's been reprinted before. Kind of like the Champa was reprinted in the Magnificent Collection with slightly altered art. This one here, I specifically chose the event pack version to put on the screen here. It's from one of the earlier kind of event packs. But still, I do like the new art better. So I think if I pull any copies of this guy from the anniversary box, especially in foil, I'll definitely be using those going forward. Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan was also reprinted as a foil in the Ultimate deck, which came out a few months back as well. And yeah, this, like I say, is another card still see play. I've included it in a few decks recently. I was playing against someone this past Saturday who had 4 copies in his Mecha deck, so it's not a particularly expensive card, so even if you did already like go out and buy a playset of it, it's not like you've wasted a ton of money if you pull a few from the anniversary box. And like I say, the anniversary box art is, in my opinion, a lot nicer than the original. Then we have another card that I remember from when I first started to get into the game. People referred to this as kind of like a pseudo-super combo, this Infernal Villainy Cell. It's kind of like a super combo, except you have to pay 1 for it. It's basically how it works. You also could just draw the card if you play it. I remember when I first started playing the game, this was like a go-to card in the Freeze Prison deck, because that deck couldn't include battle cards 3 or less, and all super combos up to that point were 2 costs, I believe. So you couldn't actually run any super combos in that deck, so you'd run this, and I believe there was a starter deck Goku that was similar. You'd run either one or both of those, because obviously this gets around that restriction with it being a 4 cost, and it kind of acts as your super combo, but obviously you have to pay for it. So funnily enough, there actually is a super combo for the Freezer Prison deck in the new cards being printed in the anniversary box. I believe it's a King Cold. It's like a 4 cost red card with super combo, and has an effect that works specifically with that Freezer Prison leader. So yeah, this card hasn't really seen much play. Even the one deck, like I was just saying, Freezer Prison, now they have their own super combo, so this probably wouldn't even make the cut in that deck. So this isn't going to be really high on anyone's list in terms of like the card they absolutely have to have from these reprint packs. Like, I'm not going to be super thrilled if I pull a ton of copies of this. But you always end up with cards in the anniversary box that you don't really want or need. It's just the way things work. Basically, any reprint set up to this point has had some kind of duds, and I would say this probably is one of the duds of this set. One of the ones that I don't think is dud is 4-star ball. This actually goes quite well with the fact that the adventure begins, which can grab the 4-star ball from your deck or drop area. That just got an alternate art reprint, so for the 4-star ball to get an alternate art reprint kind of on the heels of that is pretty nice. You could have like a pretty nice alternate art playset of both those cards in your decks going forward. I know Bandai are always pushing skillless as like a playstyle. I feel like every set that is released has at least one skillless deck within it. So plenty of decks out there that would still run 4-star ball potentially. So for those decks going forward to have like a nice alternate art reprint of it, it's pretty decent in my opinion. I'm not going to be upset to pull copies of this card, even though I think I do already have a playset of it. I think I'll be happy to have, like I say, some nice alternate art versions. The artwork is pretty good on the reprint of this card, so yeah, looking forward to this card being reprinted. Then next up we have Hit Deadly Vanguard. So this guy here and the next card we're going to look at, this Android 17, these are both mainly used in the Blue Baby deck. Hit here being like a mono blue card with counter skill, kind of fits in with that whole Baby decks kind of thing, where it wants mono blue cards with counter skills. And then the Android 17 can be used as basically like a win condition in the deck. You drop it down for 7, get rid of all the cards in your opponent's hand, then swing into them with it. It's 30k, they've got only whatever combo power they have in active mode on the board. Quite often that can be lethal, and if not, it's a critical attack, so they're not even getting the card to the hand. And then even if somehow they survive that and they pass the turn, they're going to have like one card in their hand. So they got to try and kill you with just that one card, or maybe whatever they had on the board, because this obviously doesn't clear the board. But yeah, so for anyone who's either running the blue baby deck, you're going to get alternate art of some of the cards in there. Or even for somebody who's like been trying to check out the baby deck but hasn't got around to getting all the cards, this is a chance for them to pick up some of the pieces for it. Obviously these aren't necessarily the most expensive pieces of that deck. I'm pretty sure like the Unison and the 5-drop SR are still more expensive than these guys, but gives people a chance to get some cards that they might need for a deck that's still kind of in the meta. It's not the top deck in the game anymore, but it still does well at tournaments and things like that. And then we have the 2 Championship 2020 Unisons. First up we have the Metacooler Terrifying Horde. This is one that I've been wanting to get my hands on for a while now. I believe I wanted it for... which deck was it? It was starter deck Green Freezer, because of its +1 here. You could use it to drop the Dodoria and do the whole like Freezer Army Healing Pod Dodoria thing to draw tons of cards. I'll be happy to get my hands on a copy of it. You also get a Metacooler token once per turn, which is pretty good, if nothing else, for the 5k combo power for free. It's probably one of the better Championship 2020 cards as far as I can remember off the top of my head. I don't think there were too many in there that see a lot of play, whereas this one could potentially, in the right deck, see some play. So yeah, I'll be happy to get my hands on a couple of copies of this card, hopefully. And it's the same story actually with the other Unison, the Super Saiyan 3 Gogeta here. I know this can see some play in certain decks. The one that comes to mind where I've seen it being played is Skillless Gohan from set 13. It's pretty good as a play to like play it out for 3, do the -1, potentially bounce some stuff back, but then you can play a skillless card from your hand, and the fact that it gets played with a skills negated doesn't matter. And then that can let you do your kind of skillless card shenanigans that go on in that deck. And the permanent's pretty nice as well for if they can't get rid of your skillless card for whatever reason. It's in rest mode, it's going to be a Saiyan. See the Trunks or the Gohan. It means your leader doesn't take damage from attack, so it can cause your opponent to kind of either have to attack into this Unison to get rid of the permanent, or to attack into your kind of skillless guys to get rid of them so that they can start attacking your leader. So overall, pretty good card for them to choose. Next up, we have the Videl Negate. This one that I've used in plenty of decks in the past. Really good in set 8 Bulma, I remember, because it negates the attack comes into play and then the leader gives it blocker as well. So it's almost like an early version of those new, relatively new, blocker negates that we got in the Evolution Booster. The big upside of those is they can be used for free, whereas this is one for the ability to negate the attack and then block to stop another attack. It's always been good. It's not the priciest card out there, but the new artwork looks nice, and I'll be happy to use any copies I pull. It's bound to make a comeback at some point. Negates that play themselves always seem to come back round in some way or another. And I wouldn't be surprised if this card did that same thing and see some play going forward. Then we have Hachak, Hatred Everlasting. At first when they revealed this, I was thinking it was the 5 costs from the set, which I literally just finished my playset of, but no, it's the promo instead. This is a card I experimented with recently in my side deck for Metricabra. Didn't make a particularly good impact from the sideboard. I don't think I ever actually brought it in once. It's just decent as a way to get more cards into drop for Overrealm. You can play him out for 3 energy, and then he has a pretty decent effect of, if you attack into a battle card once per turn, you can switch him back to active. It's kind of pseudo dual attack at that point, as long as the first attack is a battle card. I'm pretty sure I've also seen it in a few Dark Broly lists as well, as a way to another way other than just the leader to like fill up the drop early, because then that fuels your ability to like play the Dark Brolys for free, or for no energy at least. Definitely be people who are happy to get their hands on more copies of this card, or even to get an alternate art version of it. So a good choice in my opinion. Next up is Paragus the Sacrifice, and this is a card that I've been putting off buying, and I'm kind of glad I did now. He's seen a lot of play recently in King Cold, and I've been playing the King Cold deck, and that's why I was thinking of maybe picking one up. 1 or 2 copies at least. And like I say, I'm glad now that I didn't, because I was getting 2 of the anniversary box anyway, so hopefully I can pull at least 1 or 2 copies from my boxes and then include it in King Cold. So yeah, one that I, on a personal level, am happy to see be reprinted in this set. Then we have Demon God Demigra True Power Unleashed. I know this is one that sees play in the Kai deck from set 13. It's quite an expensive card at the moment as well. I think it's the most expensive card on this list currently, or at least when I checked a day or 2 ago it was. It's just a really good target to use with the Kai's leader skill in that deck, where their overrun cards don't go away at the end of the turn. So you overrun 5, pay 2 for this guy, and then you have a 30k on board that can make your opponent warp a card from the hand every time it attacks, which is why you want to keep it on the board for the subsequent turns. And like a lot of overarm cards which only really get their effect the turn they're played, this actually gives you value over and over and over again, as long as you can keep it out on the board. So yeah, I think this card info is probably going to be the best pull you can get from this set in terms of value, at least. That's my guess. I mean, you never know, going forward, maybe something else gets printed in the next set that changes things, and suddenly one of these other cards becomes a lot better and suddenly becomes the big chase card of the set. But as it stands, the kind of money card of these reprints is going to be this Demigra here. And then next up we have 2 cards that I'm kind of disappointed, I guess you would say, to see included in this, which is the Great Ape Goku Saiyan Instincts and the Goku Black Unforeseen Darkness. So these 2 have literally just been reprinted in the Collector Selection Volume 1. So to see them be reprinted again so quickly after the Collector Selection actually was released. I know the Collector Selection was first put on sale back in January, I believe, but in terms of its actual release date, it was just released the end of last month, I believe. Between that being released and these reprints being released, it's not even going to be like 2-3 months at that point, so that's not great in my opinion for them to reprint these cards in such kind of quick succession. It's not even like they didn't know they were going to do the Collector Selection, or they didn't know they were going to put it in here, so there's no excuse for it, really. In my opinion, these are almost kind of 2 wasted spaces. I guess for anyone who missed the Collector Selection, these are going to be decent inclusions. It's another chance for them to pick these 2 cards up if these are cards in particular that people need. I know the Saiyan Instincts is used in a ton of decks, just because it's a generic way of being able to draw 2. So it's not a bad inclusion by any means, but it's kind of disappointing, especially with the Saiyan Instincts. This isn't even the 2nd reprinting it's going to have. This will be the 3rd. It was originally reprinted in an event pack, then in Collector Selection, and now again here. So including the original printing, this is like its 4th printing, which just isn't necessary at a certain point. And I think that point probably was the 3rd printing in the Collector Selection. This one, I like the art, but I think I'm still going to use the Collector Selection version rather than this one. But hey, that's personal preference. Maybe somebody out there, maybe you who is watching this video, you prefer the anniversary box printing artwork than the Collector Selection version, and you'd rather run that copy. And I guess the same can be said about this Goku Black here. And then come to the very last card in the set, which is this Yamcha the Lawless, which was a promo card, I believe, from the first volume of tournament packs for the Unison Warrior block, so the tournament pack that was out alongside Rise of the Unison Warriors set 10. This is the one that has a lot of people scratching their heads. It's like, why did this card need to be reprinted? It's not one that sees like a ton of play currently in any of the decks out there, and it's not particularly expensive either, so even if somebody was going to build a deck with it, they wouldn't necessarily need to get it from the anniversary box. They could just go and buy the singles online instead. I mean, it's not the worst card to ever be reprinted in an anniversary box. I believe that's probably the Comrades Goku from last year. That's probably the worst card they reprinted in terms of like usefulness to people. I think this is a step above that card at the very least. But still, it's probably one of the worst cards on this list, which isn't too bad when you think about it. If this is the least useful card on the list, then it can't be that bad of a list overall, can it? Like I say, for me, the biggest disappointment really is the 2 cards that have just been reprinted. Other than that, I would say it's a pretty good list overall. Obviously, there are other cards that could have been on this list that are either more expensive, more desirable, harder to get a hold of. I guess those 3 things kind of are interlinked with each other. Because if something's hard to get a hold of, it generally is expensive. And if something's desirable, it's probably also expensive. So you could sit here and argue about other cards that maybe should have been on this list instead. But as an overall 20 card list, there's very few duds on here. I think it's only really the Cell and the Yamcha in terms of like cards that just don't see any kind of play. But overall, like I say, a pretty good list, as good as you could probably expect from an anniversary reprint set, especially bearing in mind that there's another set of reprints coming up in a few months in the Mythic booster. It's hard to look at these 20 cards and not think, well, maybe some of the better reprints would be in saved for the Mythic booster instead. And with that in mind, like I say, I think this is a decent list overall. There's some nice artwork on these cards, and you're going to get some decent value for your money, assuming you pull maybe at least 1 or 2 of the super combos in foil in particular. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think of this set of reprints in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. It really helps me out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be notified when new videos come out. And thanks for watching.